Hello and welcome everyone. Today's video features a full review guide of the brand new German supercruiser Clausewitz. Now, firstly, the release information as both Delarna and Clausewitz will be distributed in-game like the Edgar and Petrie were. So what this basically means is the Delarna and Clausewitz will be two separate lots in the 11.8 auction in the Lighthouse. The minimum bid will be 100 million credits, and the total number of lots per ship is 500 for all four servers combined. Each lot includes the ship, a ship slot, and a commander with 11 skill points. Now, the auction is of uniform price, so what this basically means is that all winners pay the lowest winning bid, just like the previous Lighthouse auction events. Now, the auction starts on the 29th of September at lunchtime and lasts until the 3rd of October. After that, the Clausewitz will be available the regular way, just like all previous superships, purchasable for credits in the tech tree, with the release of update 0.11.11 just before the end of the year. Now, the Clausewitz will inevitably draw comparisons with the Tier 10 Hindenburg, and there are some significant improvements which I will cover in detail as we go through the ship's characteristics, including both its strengths and weaknesses. Firstly, however, let me start with a complete build, including ship upgrades and captain skills I'm using in this gameplay footage. Now, I must admit there is considerable room for experimentation here, but for the sake of this review, I am running with concealment and the reload mod. Now, it wouldn't surprise me, however, to see players running with stuff like lighthouse builds similar to the Hindenburg to potentially squeeze out even more damage. I'll add some different builds on my Discord if you are interested, and you can find the link to this in the video description below. So here, just using a simple port screenshot of the Clausewitz's armor layout. The ship model is very similar to the Hindenburg, but there are two very obvious improvements. Firstly, the main armor belt is all made up of 130mm, as opposed to the Hindenburg's mix of 110mm and 100mm plating. Secondly, and most significant, however, is the huge improvement in deck armor, right up to a very resilient 50mm. All that plunging AP fire from long range that can plague the Hindenburg at times is, well, to put it bluntly, no longer an issue. So I can't stress enough that this represents a major upgrade when playing the Clausewitz. The bow or fore-end plating is all 27mm, with an additional fore-end armor belt of 40mm. The aft-end armor plating has the same level of 27mm protection with a stronger aft-end armor belt of 90mm. The superstructure plating on the Clausewitz is 16mm, and moving to the turrets, you get a frontal plate of 150mm, side plating of 180 on the top, while the rear plating is 230mm. If we take a look at the internal armor, we can see that the Clausewitz does get sloped internal plating or turtleback armor. The upper athwartship is 50mm, the athwartship is 130mm, and the same on the frontal end of the citadel armor. The citadel of the Clausewitz is submerged and runs from the front turret to the rear turret. So the Clausewitz represents, in my opinion, a major upgrade on the armor in contrast to the Hindenburg. So this does tie in directly to the Clausewitz survivability, 58,000 hit points, and a torpedo protection damage reduction of 16%. Now this is significantly higher than the Hindenburg. Hindenburg gets just under 52,000 and a 13% torpedo protection damage reduction. So it represents an upgrade on both fronts in terms of hit points and torpedo protection. Now this is further reinforced by having 5 repair parties with this build, each capable of repairing 348 hit points per second, and that has an action time of 28 seconds. This is also a better repair party compared to the Hindenburg that can only repair 311 hit points per second. And these numbers also include the bonus provided by the India Delta flag. So if you're getting the picture, we can already see armor-wise, survivability-wise, the Clausewitz is already a very strong version of the Hindenburg. So let's move to the main battery. Once again, major upgrade. Clausewitz gets 12 of these 210mm guns in 4 triple mounted turrets, 2 fore and 2 aft. Now with this build I'm using the reload mod. They have a 9.2 second reload time. They can rotate 180 degrees in 22.5 seconds. They have a max dispersion of 149 meters. And now with this build, remember I'm using the reload mod, they have a max firing range of 18.5 kilometers. And these guns have a sigma value of 2.05. Clausewitz can fire both high explosive and armor piercing. A high explosive can inflict a max alpha damage of 2,950. They have an 18% fire chance, 53mm of penetration, and a very fast shell speed of 925 meters per second. So you get an upgraded gun caliber. Not only do you get increased shell damage, you get increased fire chance and increased penetration as compared to the Hindenburg. So a major upgrade. Clausewitz also fires armor piercing. They have a max damage of 6,510 with this build. Remember, I am using the heavy AP shell skill that gives an additional 5% to AP damage. Again, compared to the Hindenburg, Hindenburg has a max damage of 6,195 with the exact same build, while the Clausewitz gets just over 6,500 in raw alpha damage. In terms of secondary armament, the Clausewitz gets 10 twin-mounted 128mm guns, 20 in total of these 128s. These have a firing range of 8.7 kilometers. They have quite a fast reload speed of 4 seconds, firing high explosive shells with a max damage of 1500. They can pen 32mm of armor. They have a 7% chance of setting the target on fire, and also quite a fast shell speed of 900 meters per second. Now, as I already mentioned, I will put alternate builds on my Discord, but should you choose to drop the reload mod in slot 6 and go with range, you can increase the base range out to 21.5 kilometers. Now remember, you also have access to the spotting aircraft, which grants an additional 20% while active. So you can have quite considerable range, but for the purpose of this build and this gameplay, I am using the reload mod. And you can see it's really quite effective. If you're comfortable with your positioning and angling, having a max firing range of 18.5 or base firing range, this is not counting the spotter aircraft, you can inflict large amounts of damage with this reload mod. Okay, so moving to the torpedoes, Clausewitz gets armed with an impressive array, 20 torpedoes in total, 4 X5 launchers, 533mm torpedoes. Again, this represents a 25% increase in torpedo power. Hindenburg gets 4x4, while Clausewitz gets 4x5. Now, these torpedoes can inflict a max damage of 13,700. They have a reload time of 112 seconds. They have a torpedo speed of 64 knots, and they can be detected at 1.3 kilometers. So if you're following the trend here, we see an increase in survivability, we see an increase in artillery power, we see a massive increase, 25% increase in torpedo armament. So if you're following the story already, it really is building quite an impressive picture of the Clausewitz. Moving to the anti-submarine warfare, which is represented by access to the airstrike consumable. This has a reload time of 27 seconds. You get 2 available flights, 1 aircraft per attacking flight, dropping 2 bombs. Each has a max damage of 4,900. So again, increased versatility as compared to the Hindenburg that just gets depth charges. You have an 8-kilometer operating range with this airstrike, meaning you have a lot more versatility. In terms of AA defense, the Clausewitz gets 24 30mm guns in 12 twin-mounted turrets, 6 quad-mounted 30mm, 8 twin-mounted 55mm, and the 10 twin-mounted secondaries also act as dual-purpose 20 128mm guns. So all combined, they pump out a continuous average damage of 483, the vast majority of which is short and medium range. The Clausewitz can fire 7 shell explosions per flak salvo, with a max damage of 1610, has a priority sector reinforcement of 75%, and a max firing range of 6 kilometers. Again, a quick comparison with the Hindenburg, that is an 800-meter increase in firing range of the anti-aircraft defenses. So, moving to the Clausewitz's maneuverability, Clausewitz gets a base speed of 32.5 knots. Now you can increase this with the Sierra Mike to 34.1 knots max speed, turning circle radius of 820 meters with a rudder shift time of 11.8 seconds. So a direct comparison with the Hindenburg again, an increase in speed, slightly larger turning circle but only slight, and the rudder shift time is slightly longer than the Hindenburg. But again, an increase in speed from the Hindenburg's 33.1 knots to 34.1. So finally, in terms of concealment, the Clausewitz gets a concealment rating of 53. This equates to a surface detection range of 12.8 kilometers. You will be surface detected by enemy submarines and by aircraft, both at 7.9 kilometers. So again, a final comparison with Hindenburg in terms of concealment, a 200-meter increase in concealment with the Clausewitz. But on virtually all other fronts, it represents a significant upgrade in terms of armor layout, survivability, our main battery artillery, torpedo armament, more versatile airstrike. It really is a very, very powerful ship indeed. Most notably, in comparison to other superships, the Clausewitz comes as is. There is no funny button. You have no alternative fire mode. Everything you see is exactly what you get. So if you like this style of Hindenburg play, you are going to really enjoy this Clausewitz, as it's a straight up upgrade on virtually every front. So I hope you enjoyed this gameplay, and as you can see, the damage output from this Clausewitz is really quite frightening. I hope you enjoyed this early preview. If you'd like to see some more gameplay, feel free to come over and visit me on Twitch. You can see the link here on screen. I look forward to seeing you all. Let this match play out. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay.
returning to ship.
Enemy battleship destroyed.
I'd like to thank you once again all for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more. Take a moment to check out some of my most recent videos and leave a comment below. And until the next time, keep sailing it like you stole it.